flsmv.gov/impaired for more information. Sponsored by the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles.
Atlanta Braves baseball is back, and it's only on WCNN North Atlanta,
a Dickey broadcasting station.
The Braves win it and walk it off in the 10th inning.
680 The Fan, 93.7 FM, and streaming Braves baseball across the South. And now on your dashboard with Apple CarPlay with the 680 The Fan app.
7:03 here on 6A The Fan, 93.7 FM. It is Buck Bellew in prime time. Heath Klein in with Buck tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us. We're going to give you a chance to hang out with Buck on the phone lines. If you would like to do that, we'll open them up to you right now. 404-231-1680. That's 404-231-1680 if you want to get in. And
we got some Kentucky fans starting to show up.
Yeah, you can chew it up with Buck a little bit here. Again, we are live. A lot of people actually coming over to say hi to Buck in person here at Walk-Ons, and you've still got time to do that if you want to come on by between now and 7:40.
You never know what these people are going to say, Heath.
It is interesting because
they've all been nice here tonight, though. They've very complimentary. You never know when somebody might walk up and say something negative. But they've been really nice here tonight over here in West Cobb.
It's been a fun time all day for the station out here again. Great time for everybody that has been here, enjoyed the great food and beverages and hospitality at Walk-Ons. So, Buck, I mentioned the folks at Rivals put together a list, and if you had just said to me without any warning or anything, pick the number one talent hotspot, not for a state, for a metro area in the country for high school football recruiting talent for college,
I would say number one is probably South Florida.
That would have probably been my guess, because I wouldn't know which city in Texas is number one. Texas is a huge state.
The Dallas Metroplex.
Dallas versus Houston, whatnot. I would have known, but I would have said, okay, maybe a Texas city, maybe South Florida, maybe Atlanta.
I would say Metro Atlanta's probably in there, and I think South Georgia. You know, where I'm from, South Georgia doesn't get talked about enough with the quality of football that gets played down there in South Georgia.
I got to be honest, I did not see this one coming. It is a Florida city or Florida metro area that they made number one. They went with Tampa Bay, Buck. Now, there's talent in the Tampa Bay area, but boy, look, I grew up in Tampa. I never thought that the high school raw meat-on-the-hoof talent in Tampa was the same as South Florida. I was surprised by that, but this is Rivals. That's what they do all day is high school recruiting, so I'm going to assume they have a good idea what they're talking about, but I was surprised that I'm from there.
Well, I mean, Aaron Murray coming out of Plant High School down there in the Tampa area, right?
Oh,
good example for you there. A big guy came up to Athens and broke all kind of records throwing the ball around.
Orson Charles came up to
Orson Charles
Tampa
was a good one, man.
Plenty
I tell you what, he didn't get talked about enough. The Bulldog Nation with some of the quality playmakers we've had through the years. He was outstanding.
So Tampa Bay was number one, but number two, everybody else in the country is looking up at Atlanta, Buck. And honestly, again, I don't know that there's an argument for it. I know people, maybe somebody in L.A. would say, hey, wait a minute, they're all on the list. But Atlanta, number two in the area of high school
that seems about right to me. Now, look, I think Kirby's gotten it right, though. And just trying to get here from Duluth, where we play TPC Sugarloaf today, and I get in the car around 4 o'clock, and it takes me 2 hours to get to West Cobb. So Kirby has taken it to a whole new level in Metro Atlanta. How do you get to multiple high schools in the same day in Atlanta? How do you get around? Well, you're not going to do it sitting in a car in traffic, looking at 5 lanes of traffic, moving at about 5 miles an hour. You're going to be late. You're going to be showing up. You're going to have to trim somebody back. You're not going to make it to all these venues you want to make it to. So you get the helicopter, baby, and you fly around Atlanta. And that way you can hit 10 schools in one day. Kirby, he's the best when it comes to recruiting. Metro Atlanta, and everybody's down here. All the big programs and the coaches, they're working Atlanta daily. And Kirby is saying this is our home state. And so nobody's going to outwork us in the state of Georgia. And that helicopter helps them do that.
Yeah, we have seen guys
we could use that at 680 The Fan getting around a little bit.
Yeah, we have seen guys like Lincoln Riley try to come into this state and take talent out of it and not have a whole lot of success. I'm kind of surprised, but it does drive home to you when someone from an area as loaded as Southern California is still coming all the way across the country trying to make headway in Georgia. It drives home just how much raw talent there is.
No doubt about it.
And you cannot, there is no way that Kirby Smart or anybody can take every talented kid in the state. And so everyone's going to come here and fight for whatever they can get.
So where was South Georgia?
So Tampa Bay was number 1, as noted, and Atlanta was number 2. But yeah, South Georgia made the cut, Buck. Dallas-Fort Worth was number 3. Los Angeles was number 4. So again, major metro areas that you kind of knew would be in the list. South Florida is number 5. And then South Georgia, including, of course, your home base of Valdosta. South Georgia, number 6. So the number 2 and number 6 areas for recruiting talent in all the country are right here in the state of Georgia.
Well, certainly Valdosta, with both Lowndes and Valdosta putting out a quality product for years down there close to the state line. But in that area, that pocket of South Georgia, you've had a lot of players coming out of the city of Thomasville. They're playing some quality football over there in Thomasville. That sort of stands out there. Moultrie is been in the news. Rush Probst doing a little of that when he was a head coach down there. But Moultrie has put out a lot of quality players here in the last 10, 15 years also. Colquitt County is what they're calling it right now. We call them Moultrie. That was the city, Moultrie High School back in the day. But, the Waycross area always seems to have some really good football. All across Albany, you can go in there and find some big-time players. A lot of fast guys coming out of Albany, Georgia, Macon, the Macon area. Anything below Macon, I would say South Georgia. Warner Robins comes to mind. A lot of great football. Fort Valley always seems to have some good players coming out of the middle of the state. Yeah, South Georgia, man. When you grow up in South Georgia, you think, these kids up here in Metro Atlanta, they get all the advantages. They could go to a wide receiver camp and let Terrence Edwards coach you up, and out there by the airport in that bubble he's working out in, and you got all these opportunities that you just don't have down in South Georgia. But they work overtime down there, and they grow them tough. You come out of South Georgia, you're a tough football player, and that can take you a long way.
One of the things that stands out to me is the commitment this state has to high school football, because you look at some states, for example, during COVID, some states that said, well, we either won't play, or if we do play, we're going to play in the spring. We're not going to play fall. You look at the financial commitment to having coaches that are full-time coaches that are serious about it, as opposed to some states where it's more of it still matters, but it's just not treated financially with the same level of commitment. This state is absolutely all in on having quality high school football, and that then in turn with great athletes is going to lead to great college football prospects.
Yeah, look, you never know who you're going to run into as far as these recruiters from outside the Southeast. You never know. You go into the airport, you might see, Ryan Day walking through the airport, Dabo Sweeney. You're going to get these big-timers coming in here to Metro Atlanta trying to steal some of these big-time players. As you said, Kirby can't get them all. We've seen now Georgia Tech with Coach Key now taking charge of that Tech program. People are getting serious about wanting to be a part of that. So there's another program on the up and up.
Just to quickly mention the rest of the top 10, they had Detroit at number 7. Number 8 was South Louisiana. Number 9 was Houston, and number 10 was the DMV area. So those are the top 10. But again, Georgia, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, that Northern Virginia area there. So you can find a lot of talent there, especially D.C. I think people think of that more as a basketball area, but there's a bunch of raw talent that has come out of that area. And again, because they don't have as much high school football commitment there, it might be a little less developed talent than you have in a place like Georgia. But you can definitely find some players there in that area that they call the DMV. So there's your top 10. But again, Georgia, with not one but two of the top 6 regions, just drives home why it is such a big deal. And also, by the way, why high school football coverage here on 680 The Fan as part of what we do in the fall is such a big deal. Because, again, Buck, I filled in on one game. And just watching one young man in one game from a school that was not even among the top 3 or 4 classifications, I knew immediately. Watching him, I'm like, this is a kid that's going to be, in 2 years, everybody in the country is going to be fighting for this kid. And he's probably going to wind up in Athens because Kirby doesn't let guys like that get out of here. Again, just one random game I worked this past year. They are just everywhere you go. They are just so many guys that have that incredible raw talent.
Yeah, we've had 2 sons come through and play some high school football here. Our youngest son just wrapped up his senior year this past fall. And so we've been locked in for, our daughter is the oldest of the 3 children. And so she was a cheerleader. So, gosh, we have been at this right in the middle of high school football action every week during the season here for going on 8 years. So, yeah, I've been blessed to have been able to see a lot of this big-time talent here in Metro Atlanta. I've had a chance to see a lot of these guys play the game, which has been fun.
And, of course, we know one of the things that always grinds Buck's gears, we're talking about talent, and we're talking about Georgia talent, and especially University of Georgia talent, is why will the Falcons not bring in some of that talent into Atlanta? We will talk some Falcons on the other side. Got some nuggets on where the Falcons have been, where you go sometimes, pro days and whatnot can tell you something. So,
well, I did a little deep dive on Fontenot and his success. He's run 4 drafts here with the Falcons, and I uncovered some very interesting numbers I'll share with you coming up here in a moment.
Yeah, Buck's got some grades, and then we got some details on what the Falcons have been up to. And, of course, we continue from here at Walk-Ons, having a great time. If you are in the area out here in East Cobb, come on by and see us. I should say West Cobb. Hello. In the avenues of West Cobb, if you are out here anywhere nearby, come on by. Say hello to Buck while you still can. We'd love for you to join us right here on 680 The Fan, 93.7 FM.
Start your Sunday on the links with Brian Katrick and the Golf Show. Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Presented by the new Mizuno JPX 925 Forged Irons. Nothing feels like a Mizuno. Or listen to the show anytime on the podcastpark.com or through the 680.
Fresh Florida bell peppers. These culinary chameleons make every meal just as dazzling as they are delicious. Vivid and vibrant and downright delectable, boasting a playful palette of colors, Florida bell peppers paint any dish a flavorful masterpiece. From picturesque pastas to spicy salsas, fresh stacked salads to sizzling fajitas, Florida bell peppers are a feast for all the senses. To see what Florida bell peppers can do for you, visit freshfromflorida.com.
Know what tomorrow is? It's that day you do something. Monumental or seemingly inconsequential. Start a new job, leave an old one. A big date or a small gathering. Drinks with the new someone, or simply to strut past an old flame. So celebrate in style. Step out and stack on. Flash a look of bold 14-karat gold. Layer that fit with a solitaire diamond drip. Whatever the reason, Jared Jewelers has the perfect on-trend way to show the world you did it. So tomorrow, you be the one who went to Jared.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like finishing your laundry and successfully matching all your daughter's baby socks together on the first try.
Let's see. Panda socks, fire truck socks, socks with those cute little strawberries on them.
You matched each and every one of those tiny socks. I mean, has this ever happened in the history of laundry?
And a penguin wearing a cowboy hat socks. Done.
Enjoy the moment, Dad. You've earned it. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Kissimmee.
Put pain in your rearview mirror. Orlando Health Spine Center is here to help when pain stops you from doing what you love. Our multidisciplinary spine care program brings together award-winning orthopedic and neuroscience specialists to solve all types of back and spine concerns, from muscle strain to sciatica pain and more complex conditions. With locations across Central Florida and same-day appointment availability, we make it easy to get back to what you love. Request an appointment at orlandohealth.com/spine center. Orlando Health. Choose well.
Tonight, Atlanta Braves baseball is back, so stay up with the fan staff as we bring you the Braves and Padres from San Diego.
1-2 to Harris, hit well, deep left field. That jumped off his bat, back to the wall, out of here!
Buck Belue takes you right up to 680 game day at 740, followed by the Ford Leadoff Show and every pitch of Braves and Padres from Petco Park. Only on The Fan and streaming for free on the 680 The Fan app.
The latest scores, headlines, and news.
Here's the latest from the RBM of Atlanta's Sports Desk.
It's almost time for some baseball. Good evening, I'm David Holloway. First, this update is brought to you by the Honest Car Guy. Don't waste your time or money trying to buy a pre-owned car or truck. Try the Honest Car Guy. You'll pay what he pays, plus a small disclosed fee. Finally, a car buying process you can trust. Learn more at thehonestcarguy.com. The Braves, they're back in action tonight after dropping that opening game 7-4 against the Padres yesterday. Ronaldo Lopez getting the start tonight against Dylan Cease. He's taking the mound for the Padres tonight. 6-8 game day getting you started at 7:40 with Chris Domino and Barrett Sallee. They'll continue with the Ford Leadoff Show at 8:25, leading up to a 9:40 first pitch. We got some great news for our boy Spencer Strider. He's set to travel to Charlotte with the Stripers to take on the Charlotte Knights in a rehab start. That's all according to MLB.com's Mark Bowman. We are your home for all Braves baseball here on The Fan, 680, 93.7 FM, and the Fan app.
7:20 here on 680 The Fan, 93.7 FM. It is Buck Belue prime time. Heath Klein in with Buck tonight. Thank you for being here with us. Coming up in about 20 minutes, we got the start with 680 game day and then the Ford Leadoff Show, and it is Braves and Padres, second game of the year. That's coming your way tonight right here on 680 The Fan. Game 2 of 162. You'll hear them all right here all through the year. Buck, Atlanta Falcons, we're almost to draft time. It's now within a month. They're out there. They're scouting.
27 days, Heath.
Evaluating, trying to come up with a plan or a plot, but you are not super optimistic based on what you see when you look at Terry Fontenot's draft.
Well, there's some good and there's some bad after doing the deep dive into this. But let me start by saying the Falcons in 27 days, they've only got 3 quality picks in the draft. So if you were less than impressed with the free agency where we were doing a lot of shopping at the Goodwill store, you're probably going to be underwhelmed with the draft also. We got the 15th pick in the first round. Second round, we got overall pick number 46. So 2 picks in the top 50. I like that. We don't have a third round pick. We've got a 4th round pick number 118. And so those are the 3 quality picks that we have coming into the draft. I think we've probably got more holes to fill than we do draft picks. Look, we got a couple in the 7th round, but, to me, that's where you're finding a punter or a snapper or a holder or maybe a cheerleader in the 7th round. Rarely are you going to hit on a player that's going to end up making the team in that 7th round. So only 3 quality picks coming in the draft. So, look, these guys have got to get it right. It's a collaboration, right? That's all they talk about is the collaboration. Terry Fontenot, the general manager. You got Kyle Smith, the assistant general manager. You got Ryan Pace. He's the vice president of football operations. And you've got Tumba, who is now the director of college scouting. Raheem Morris is in the room, and I'm sure he gets input from both Ulbrich and Zach Robinson as 2 coordinators. So, look, it's a collaboration with those people that I just mentioned there. Fontenot's had 4 drafts. Now, in my opinion, he's hit on all 4 of the first-round picks. And all 4 of the first-round picks have been top 10 picks in the first round. Let me just say, you should be hitting on those top 10 picks. You should be able to pick a player out of the group that can make your team and impact the team. So he's been able to do that, stating the obvious, and I'm including Pitts in that. He was a Pro Bowl player in year number 1 when he had a legitimate quarterback that could get him the football. In the last 3 years, he's been affected by the coaching staff not designing a game plan that can get him the football, and also very underwhelming quarterback play. So I'm going to include Kyle Pitts among the hit rate for Terry Fontenot. So 4 for 4 in the first round. But again, we should be able to go up to the bar here at Walk-Ons in West Cobb. Oh, there's Nick Cellini at the bar. We could go up to the bar and ask any of those people who the Falcons could take in the first round, and they would hit on that. So I'm just going to move past that. I believe that these general managers is make or break from rounds 2 to 5. Second round, third round, fourth round, and fifth round. That's where the bulk of your team is going to get built. How has Fontenot done in Atlanta with the Falcons in rounds 2 to 5? He's had 19 picks. And I am not including Trice into the 19, so I'm going to say, because he's got injured in training camp, we have no idea what kind of player he would have been. Maybe he makes an impact this year. I'm not going to count him right now. So I'm going to pass judgment on the 18 picks that Fontenot has had between rounds 2 and 5. He's hit on 5 of the 18. Bergeron, the guard. Ebukati, the edge rusher. Algier, the running back. Dahlman, the center, who's now moved on. Taquan Graham is still getting in the rotation on that defensive line, so I will include him. Terry Fontenot, this is the bad news, 28% hit rate from the second to the fifth round. That is a failing grade, Heath Klein. A damning information. I revealed, just doing a little research getting ready for the show. So 5 of 18 will get you fired in the National Football League. If you're wondering, round 6 and 7, he's 1 for 8. I don't pass judgment. It is a shot in the dark trying to find a player in the 6th or 7th round. So, you know, he's got less than a 30% hit rate in that rounds 2 to 5 area, and that is not a good number if you're a general manager. In fact, I'm wondering how much longer Fontenot can survive in this collaboration they have.
It speaks for itself, and beyond that, Buck, I mean, you look at choices he's made with regards to trading. Instead of going for more picks, when you have a poor success rate, the one thing you can do to give yourself a better chance is have more picks. If you hit 28% but have more picks, you at least still generate more players. Jimmy Johnson, part of the genius of how he built the Cowboys wasn't that Jimmy Johnson hit on all his draft picks.
How about them Cowboys?
He swung and missed on guys in the third round like Rondi Weston out of Florida. He missed on a lot of picks, but Buck, because of the Herschel Walker deal and some other things, he had so many picks that he was able to do things like move up aggressively 4 spots to get Emmitt Smith when he wanted to move up from 21 to 17 to get him. He could miss on some third and fourth rounders, and it was okay because he had a lot of them. And Bill Belichick, while eventually things stopped working for him, but he was always more than willing when somebody said, oh, I got to have this guy. Oh, my heart is set on this guy in the second round. He would rip you off for 2 and 3 picks because you just had to have that one player, and he would go with that same volume theory of hitting. Bill Walsh built the 49ers that way. It just... what they do with the way that they never trade back, they only trade up and give up extra picks, is exactly the opposite of how you build a successful team.
Well, here is who Fontenot has missed on. And look, the 2024 NFL draft for the Falcons, and I put a check mark next to Penix. knew coming in he was going to be a player. He showed in those 3 games. He's going to be the starting quarterback for years to come here in Atlanta. I'm going to put a check mark next to Penix. Barely touched the field a year ago. I've got an X next to Trice. I told you I'm not going to pass judgment on a guy that got hurt before the season started. Brandon Dorlus, I've got an X next to him. He barely showed his face last season. Bertrand, the linebacker, played some special teams. He got a little playing time. He is not... he's not going to take any of those starter spots that they have, so I've got an X next to his name. That is rounds 1 through 5. 2023, you got Bijan, the first-round pick. Man, I love the pick now. It's looking good. We got one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. Bergeron, they hit on him in the second round. He's been a starter at left guard from day one. Round 3, Zach Harrison on the bubble. Probably not going to end up doing anything. Clark Phillips, the cornerback out of Utah, 4th-round pick. Just right now, if I had to put a check or an X, I'd be putting an X next to Clark Phillips. Right now, 2022, you had Drake London. You took in the first round with the 8th pick. Hey, check mark next to him. Ebukati still hanging around, sacking the quarterback a little bit. So in rounds 1 and 2, first 2 picks of that 2022 draft, Fontenot, hit on those 2 players. But Troy Anderson, a failure so far. Desmond Ridder, a total, complete failure with Desmond Ridder. D'Angelo Malone. You couldn't pick him out if they lined up the edge rushers. If they walked into walk-ons right now and lined him up, you couldn't pick him out of the crowd. Algier, a 5th-round pick. They hit on him. Job well done. 2021, Pitts with a 1st-round pick. Now, here are the misses. Richie Grant with a 2nd-round pick. Gone. Done nothing. Mayfield, offensive tackle out of Michigan, 3rd-round pick. Gone. Darren Hall, cornerback in the 4th round. Who is he? Nobody knows who he was. You put an X next to him. They hit on Dahlman in the 4th round. Taquan Graham in the 5th. Avery Williams, a 5th-round pick. He was totally terrible as a kick returner. I could have done a better job than he was doing out there returning kicks. So, all in all, Fontenot, you've got to say that it's a thumbs down right now. His job's on the line coming into this draft.
Well, there's a lot of guys in the car who I guarantee you would be like, oh, come on, Buck. You can't give them credit for Kyle Pitts. You answered why you feel like you can because you feel like they misused him. But
All-Pro player the first year. Was that an impact? Yes, it was.
There are certainly people listening to you right now who
I know
saying,
I'm the only guy in town.
You're being too nice. You're grading too generously to give him 28%.
Well, let's take him off the list then and say his rate's at about a 25% clip, which is worse now. All right, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt with Kyle Pitts. I'm the only guy in town that's propping him up.
Yeah, by the way, on last year, look, they're claiming that the theory is that Ororo and Dorlus and Trice would have played last year if he had not gotten hurt. The expectation was. We won't know because, again, you can't say for sure. I like the pick when they made it. I thought he was good value for them in the third round. No, Trice in the third round.
I like
think Trice would have played.
Yeah, excellent pass rush.
And then Trice leads to you overreacting and trading a third-rounder that you've already wasted for Matthew Judon, as it turns out. They probably don't make that move if Trice stays healthy. So you already have burned 2 third-round picks there trying to get production off the edge. Maybe Trice can give it to you this year. We'll see. I did want to mention this, Buck, because I thought it was interesting. There have been pro days going on all over the last month. There are only 4 teams that had both their head coach and their general manager at Ohio State's pro day on Wednesday. And as you can imagine, for me to bring this up, the Falcons were one of the 4.
Looking at Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle.
Could be. Whoever they were looking at, there's obviously several defensive linemen, probably not first-round defensive linemen in the 15th, but maybe a Jack Sawyer or a Tumalolo, somebody like that in the second round could make some sense for the Falcons. But the only teams that had both the head coach and the general manager there were the Bears, the Saints, the Steelers, and the Falcons. Yeah. So that gets your attention a little bit. They clearly... Whoever it is, there are prospects at Ohio State that they were very interested in to have both of those guys there. That was not typical, even for the national champions. And then...
Well, on Monday, you had Raheem Morris up at Marshall while looking at Mike Green's pro day. chances are he's going to be there at 15. Are we taking him? Are we taking Green? Who's got some red flags off the field?
It's a question.
Raheem went to see him.
Yeah, Raheem Morris was also spotted, Buck, talking to Nick Scorton at Texas A&M's Pro Day on Thursday. And at that Pro Day, the A&M Pro Day, the Falcons were one of only 2 teams with both the head coach and GM there. The only other team was the Texans. So whether it's Scorton, whether it's Shamar Stewart, who's another guy who's going to go somewhere in that middle of the round about where the Falcons are drafting, clearly you can tell that this team had a high level of interest in certain prospects. Now, that doesn't mean what they saw they liked, but you can at least get they're tipping their hand at least a little bit of where they are most interested in certain prospects getting better evaluations.
Well, I'm a little hesitant to see them reinvest into the defensive line after what they did a year ago. Took 3 defensive linemen in the draft in the first 5 rounds. 3 defensive linemen. And now we're going to turn around and invest in that position group again this year? Seems like overkill. How about just getting it right? How about getting us a cornerback that can play opposite of A.J. Terrell? How about getting us a nose tackle that can provide a little beef? One thing we don't have when you look at the defensive line is a 340-pound guy you can put in the middle of that defensive line at nose tackle and clog things up. We're so enamored and totally focused on getting an edge rusher in here, which we've never been able to identify for whatever reason. There's multiple position groups that we need to address in this draft. Now, as I pointed out, we only got 3 quality picks. We better get them right. And with that 28% success rate, we're not going to get them right.
And look, it's always easy to say trade down. You have to have somebody that wants to come up, so maybe there won't be somebody. But we know this. We know that last year, the Bears literally offered them a free 4th rounder to move down 1 spot with no risk of losing Penix, and they still wouldn't take it. So I do wonder, do they know how to trade down? But, Buck, if there's ever been a year where unless there is a prospect that you are just certain is all-world, can't-miss guy, because of what you're talking about, if there's ever been a year to say, move down, get yourself more picks, give yourself more possibilities, this sure feels like the year, especially when there is so much talent on that defensive line. So you might get a guy in the second round who could actually help you.
Well, most of the fan base is going to talk about, man, you need to get where are our biggest needs. Let's take a player out of that position group. But look, Heath, in the first round, I'm in that theory that you got to go with the best available player. If you're going to pick at 15, you've rated all these players in the first round. You've rated all of them. And the top guy on that list, when you step up to the podium at 15, that's the guy you should be taking, regardless of the position. And then later in the draft, 2nd round, 4th round, maybe hit some of these areas of need. But first round, who's the best available player?
Well, in that case, you better hope it's not Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from Ohio State that they were looking at.
I'd rather have Luther Burden.
Hey, tomorrow morning, going to be broadcasting live as the nation's top travel sports athletes come to Emerson and the Lake Point Sports Campus. It's the Publix Legends of the Weekend, Legends of the Spring Weekend with Rise Hoops in the Champion Center, Prep Baseball Open, and the Baseball Village, plus Top Hat Soccer on the pitch. Going to be a good time. I'll be out there tomorrow with Steve West starting at 9 a.m. for the Baseball Village at the Lake Point Sports Campus. Visit lakepointsports.com for more information. It is time for Final Word.
Time for the Final Word. Brought to you by Howard Brothers, keeping Georgia green since 1955.
All right, Heath, I am exhausted. You know, I worked like 12 consecutive days coming into this week. Nobody's feeling sorry for me, right? Going to take a little time off here. Spring break. I've never done spring break, but I'm going to do it this year. We're going to Navarre Beach down on the Panhandle. Be leaving tomorrow and coming back next Friday. So,
keg stands?
No, you won't be seeing any of that going on. Recharge the batteries is what it is. But never been to Navarre Beach. They're down in that Destin area. Looking forward to it. Beautiful home. Us and a couple of other families had rented out, looking to just do nothing for about 5-6 days. So if you don't hear me on the air, that's where I am going to be next week, Navarre Beach. And we've got so many talented people here at 680 The Fan to fill in.
We look forward to doing that for you. Thanks to the folks here at Walk-Ons at West Cobb. That's
you got your
prime time.
Grilled cheese ready, brother. You ready to dive in?
Yep.
Heath, great job. We appreciate you being with us. It's going to do it for the Buck Belue Show today. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The best way to start your weekend is with a true Georgia legend. Buck Belue takes over the Fan Saturday mornings every weekend with Buck Belue Saturdays. He sets the table for your sports weekend and gets you the latest on the Dogs, Falcons, and Braves.
That's what I'm talking about.
Start your weekend with Buck. Saturdays from 9 a.m. to noon. Only on the official sports talk station of the Dogs.
680 The Fan, 93.7 FM, and the Fan app.
The Fan is partnering with First Horizon Bank for our annual gear drive. We're collecting used sports equipment to give every kid a chance to play. Rummage through your garage and bring your outgrown gear down to the Ackworth Sports Complex this Saturday from noon to 3. The Fan and First Horizon Bank volunteers will be there to collect your donations. Plus, donors receive a complimentary car wash from our great friends at Tidal Wave Auto Spot while supplies last. Join us at Ackworth Sports Complex this Saturday, noon to 3 for the First Horizon Gear Drive.
Join us for some clean, old-fashioned hate as the University of Georgia Bulldogs and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets square off for the 22nd anniversary of the Spring Classic baseball game, the only game this spring between the rivals. We're excited to return to Truist Park for this exciting matchup April 15th at 7 p.m. All proceeds from the event will benefit the Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorders Center of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Get your tickets at choa.org/Spring Classic. The Braves are back. So, have you downloaded the all-new Fan app yet? It's sleeker, loaded with podcasts, and gives you direct access to the Fan's live stream of Atlanta Braves baseball totally free.
On the 1-2 pitch. And he is toast. Swung on and missed. Got him with a slider, and Chris Sale starting out sharp again.
Plus, it's now on Apple CarPlay, so load it up and stream the Braves straight from your dashboard. It's time for Atlanta Braves baseball. First pitch is on the way, and we're kicking off the South's exclusive Braves coverage with 680 Game Day, presented by Georgia's own credit union.
0-2, driven well to deep left field. That's moving fast, and that's into the bullpen.
We're walking you right up to today's broadcast, only on the home of the Braves, The Fan. Now live from the Battery Atlanta at Truist Park, it's 680 Game Day.
Welcome into the Battery Atlanta. Chris Domino, Barrett Salee with you, leading you up to Game 2 between the Braves and the Padres coming up at 9:40 from sunny Southern California. Chris, it did not start the way that I think a lot of us expected, but I'm just going out on a limb. I think we can come back from this one-game deficit. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think there's a regroup that's necessary at this point out in San Diego. The fellas are going to have to sit around, probably have a team meeting or
players-only meeting.
Probably, and then maybe the coaches will get together and have a coaches-only meeting, and then maybe the staff, the trainers will get together and have a trainers-only meeting as well, and then they'll play baseball tonight. We'll get Dylan Cease, who we thought perhaps was going to be the opening day starter. He'll go Game 2. We'll give you a pitching matchup coming up in the Ford leadoff show in a little bit. But as we get you ready for Braves action, we'll look back a little bit at yesterday. We got a pop quiz. We got Diamond Notes. We'll take a look around opening day. And when Tim Kirkchin says that yesterday was truly opening day in baseball, I am willing to roll with the 68-year-old veteran of Major League Baseball coverage and say he is absolutely right. What happened in Japan happened. It was real, but nobody felt it was what somebody was trying to tell us it was. Yesterday was 2025's opening day.
That is correct. And I look, you're right. It was almost like a separate entity altogether. And that's what makes yesterday special. Opening day is, if everybody's happy, even the Cubs fans who had lost 2 games already were happy yesterday.
Yeah, I'll give you what it was. Let's just call it. It's a money grab because in 2028, as they're looking at international TV contracts, Korea and Japan are going to be, they got buckets of money, and Major League Baseball is going to take them. So what you do before you ask somebody for a bucket of money is you date them. You ask them out. You go out to dinner. And that's what these types of games are. It's going out to dinner so they all know we care about you. And when we see with our international bundles, with whatever streaming service we perhaps can, sort of glom off of it more money than ever before, we just want you to know we're not a fly-by-night. We know you. We are you. Japan baseball. So there's more coming, by the way. They're going to be in other places around the world when it's necessary and when they see dollar signs attached.
Well, it probably should not be on MLB.tv. Did you see what happened yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
75 minutes of issues on opening day. Not exactly the way things were supposed to start on the technological front. It didn't start well for the Braves, at least in terms of the record. But all in all, I know people want to overanalyze one game and treat it like the football mentality, right? Complaining about last night and moves that were made last night is like yelling at a coach for a bad second down call in the first quarter. It really is going to be okay, no matter what the problem is.
Yeah, you cannot like it. Remember, there are good decisions where the outcome is not good. There are bad decisions where the outcome is good. And that's certainly, baseball's been littered with those. I'll stay with what I've always thought about managers. People ask, what makes a good manager? I said, I don't know, but a bad one will lose you more games than a good one will win you. That's how I feel. Bullpen is certainly going to be a big thing. But the problem is, you can make a decision that might have been sound, and it might not go right. I wouldn't have put Neris in that game. Grant Holmes, the idea that he basically threw his bullpen session in the 8th inning lets me know that until Spencer Strider comes back, that could be a thing. Yeah. And by the way that he got up, got down, sat down, got out of that inning, I'd like it to be a thing. It also shows you what Grant Holmes might be, perhaps, when they do slide him back into the bullpen, if and when Spencer Strider comes back and all of these other guys make their starts.
And Spencer Strider making a rehab start on Saturday for Gwinnett against Charlotte up in the Queen City. But the whole I know Snit has been ridiculed relentlessly for putting Hector Neris in. You said you didn't like it. I was kind of indifferent on it. I know that's not necessarily what we're supposed to do in this business, but he's there to be a middle reliever. It's his job. He's done it in the past. Sure, you might want to see Days Bell or De Los Santos or whatever, but Neris has had success in that role in the past. So I'm not going to ridicule Snit for that, but I think either way, looking back at it, like hindsight is 2020. We're all going to rip him because Hector Neris was in, but that's not the reason the Braves lost the game. There are one or two plays that lose games in every single sport. The two plays that lost that game for the Braves were Ozzie and Drake Baldwin getting robbed of home runs. Because if those go over the fence, it's a completely different ball game. We probably don't see Hector Neris and certainly don't see him in a one-run game. I think just the whole complexity of the game is completely different at that point. So we can look. Hector Neris was terrible. There's no doubt about it. He was awful yesterday. But he's not the reason that Braves lost that game.
Look, he didn't help.
He didn't help.
And when a guy coming out of the bullpen doesn't help, I sort of go by the bullpen guys. I don't want to know who you are. The reason he was spoken to yesterday was because he had a bad outing.
Yeah.
6th inning guys don't get spoken to when they do their job. They only get spoken to when they don't. So I'm not up in arms about it. I'm just telling you I wouldn't have done it. I also think, though, the Braves have this thing where if they call you up, they put you in. He's only been here for a limited amount of time. Let's get his feet wet. To talk about it at the end of the game, we got 7 games in a row. Well, there are going to be other times during the season you have 7 games in a row, and everybody's as fresh as they're ever going to be last night. He wouldn't have been the guy I went to. I think the good thing to take out of this is I think Grant Holmes, when people started texting me, what's he doing?
What's he doing? Why is he out there?
Right, because he basically probably didn't throw a bullpen session that morning or when they got to the ballpark.
Right.
His bullpen session was on the mound, and he did the job. And that could be see Pierce Johnson, see anybody else who wants to, Aaron Bummer, be the 7th inning guy. Grant Holmes could actually. It's easy to say that Grant Holmes is going to be the long guy out of the pen. No doubt about it. But I'm going to say this. If you're down 5-0 in a game, I'm not burning Grant Holmes.
No need to.
Because he's the long inning guy. I might actually use him in what I would call more of a game situation. So I'm going to rethink a little bit what his job is going to be. Because if he's going to get outs out of the bullpen, I don't care if it's the 4th inning, but that would mean the game's wonky either way.
Right.
To me, it's 6th inning and beyond. And really, is he a 7th or 8th inning guy at that point? Once he gets it, maybe he's a 2-inning guy, and maybe it's the 6th and 7th. Maybe it's the 7th and 8th sometimes. But Grant Holmes is going to serve a purpose. Now he's going to serve a dual purpose. And he's making no money to do 2 jobs.
That's exactly right.
It's an example of last night was job 2.
Right.
And the other one will be job 1 in a couple of days against the Dodgers.
Usually if you complain to management about that, you get in trouble.
Yeah, no. Him and his agent can't go, wait, hold on now.
He can't say, I'm Shohei Ohtani.
I would like more.
I'm not really 2 players.
I don't think that's actually going to work.
That's not how that works. But
the other couple of things is, look, when Manny Machado has a bat in his hand, there's a good chance he's just better than the guy you have on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
When Fernando Tatis has a bat in his hand, he's at times going to certainly be better than the guy you have on the mound. And it's okay. You know, because there are going to be times when Iglesias is actually facing an 8-hole hitter and you go, my guy's better. Mm-hmm. He should win that battle. I'm not angry that Manny Machado gets a hit. I'm not angry that Tatis gets a hit. I'm just not. Those guys at times are going to be better than who you pull out of the bullpen. Chris Sale wasn't sharp. He stuck around for 5, which was better than what their guy did.
I mean, he pitched fine after the second. It was fine. It was a rough start. And I think at the toward the end of the game, or his performance, I guess, after the 5 innings, he started punching people out on sliders. And I think that's when he sort of felt like this is the Chris Sale that we're accustomed to seeing. He seemed extremely uncomfortable in the first inning and part of the second inning as well before he started to get things together.
I just don't want to talk about like things where you go, people say, oh, statistics, and you break things down. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes the guy with the bat is better than yours. Sometimes your guy who's supposed to be better wasn't. 8-9-1, maybe that's the other reason you put Neris in. It's a lower, you know, in terms of talent, it's a lower pressure situation. But once it flips to the top of the lineup, now you got a problem. I got a guy who's coming in, not having a lot of time to get heated up and bummer, and he's got to get out of a mess. So that didn't work either because Neris doesn't do his job. Now I got to go flick another bullpen door open. And you'll find this out. I say everything in life is a math equation. The more times you open up that door, the better chance you have to not have a guy be good that night. And when you have a guy who can't get anybody out, and I got to bring another guy in who probably wasn't expecting to go in that quickly, now I've got a compounded problem.
It is 680 Game Day here on the Fan, 680 93.7 FM, and of course on that Fan app. I think from a hitting perspective, the bats, like you look at the box scores can be deceiving. You look at the box score, nobody had a multi-hit game. Ozzie was phenomenal. He got robbed twice, once of a home run, once of a base hit. To see him come out like that, I think is very, very important. But what stood out to me, and you were down there in Florida with the team for a week in spring, and Tim Hires, he harped on having a little bit more patience. Mm-hmm. And 6 walks for the Braves, 4 of them in the first 3 innings. That matters. I
love good game notes. The Braves saw 195 pitches yesterday. And go back and find out when the last time they did that, even when they were in their best offensive days. And right there, it'll tell you that's a big amount. It was the number 1 amount in all of Major League Baseball with everybody basically playing yesterday. 195 pitches is what they saw. So if you want to be patient, if there's something to come out of it, there it is. You didn't get the base hit when you needed. They actually did. Gavin Sheets, a guy who maybe you know, maybe you don't, because he hasn't had much of a career, but he's a 29-year-old guy who had 6 home runs this spring. He comes up and he goes 1 for 1, and he's a member of the Padres now. They picked him up in February. He hit 6 home runs in spring, and he's going to be their designated go grab a bat guy. And yesterday he grabbed the bat and had a big moment.
Yeah, and you got to tip your hat, like you said. Lineups are out for today. One thing that stood out to me, and we'll go deeper into this during the Ford leadoff show, but Nick Allen getting a start, batting 8th at shortstop. Look, Orlando got a hit yesterday, and I think that's the one thing that I think a lot of folks were wondering about was, is Orlando going to hit? Is he going to be able to be that guy at the bottom of the order, batting 8th or 9th, that can turn the lineup over? And he has looked better. His average in the spring didn't really do him justice. He hit the ball hard. He had some bad luck. But Nick Allen in this game getting the start, he's had a lot of success against Dylan Cease. And I'm really interested to see what he can do, because Snit likes him. The glove is sort of 6-1, half dozen the other between him and Arcia, but Nick's been tearing the cover off the ball, and he's hit Dylan Cease well.
Yeah, well, there it is. It's a matchup. Brian Snitker was on with myself and Nick Cellini yesterday, and he said Nick Allen is the first guy that I would trust putting in at shortstop because he's a shortstop. Mm-hmm. And then if there's a matchup that makes sense, do it early. I don't need to see Orlando Arcia just because he's the number 1 shortstop to play 3, 5, 8, 24 games in a row. Mm-hmm. They just decided this is a matchup that works out. And Nick Allen's main job is to catch every ground ball, turn to double plays when he's supposed to. If he gets on base and affords somebody else to have an RBI opportunity, flipping a lineup over maybe to a 5th time, that's his job. But the number 1 job is to make sure you make every play in the field.
Yeah. Nick Allen, still relatively young in his career, 4 for 7 against Dylan Cease. Mm-hmm. That's good. I mean, against a guy like Dylan Cease, that's phenomenal. So, that is a little wrinkle to this lineup that I wasn't expecting that. I thought they'd still stick with the standard, what we expect, Orlando batting 8th, and just kind of roll through it for at least a few games. But that shows what Snit thinks of this kid and what he can provide this team.
He had a good enough spring, and when Brian Snitker said what he said yesterday out loud, he's the first guy that I trust to say, I can pencil in at shortstop. We probably should have had an idea that it was going to be sooner, not later. 4 for 7 is the reason it happened as quickly as it did.
And on the other side, Ronaldo Lopez, he was one of the biggest surprises, probably the biggest surprise maybe for the Braves last year. This time last year, we were all wondering, hey, what's the inning count going to be? Are you going to do run a 6-man rotation? Are you going to give Raylo an extra off day? And essentially that's how it went for the first 3-4 months of the season. And now I think it's go time for him. They've taken the governor off. It's all on Reynaldo. He has said, and he said in spring training, he wants to have 200 innings pitched. That's aggressive, but that's the goal he wants. Yeah. And I think this is a big start for him to show like, hey, this is repeatable. I can be that ace.
Yeah, I'd like a girlish Buffon as well. That's not going to happen. So you can wish and want for a bunch of things. He was 25 innings short of the ERA title last year, which means he didn't pitch enough innings to be a qualified
135.
pitcher. But it was certainly beyond what anybody thought it was going to be. Now we'll keep an eye on his miles per hour. We'll keep an eye on his fastball. We'll try to find out, because that was one of the stories in spring. He's down a couple of ticks.
Yeah.
They're not putting him out there if he's hurt, so he's ready to go. We'll find out again. That'll be a thing. People will be looking, especially on days he gets hit. What's going on? Oh, wait, he's down 2 miles an hour. And then we'll make those assumptions that that's exactly what it is. It's not a definitive. It will be a factor, and people are going to look at it because it already happened this spring. I'm ready to turn the page. I'm also ready to, what's kind of nice is I give that fan base credit. They had the third largest attendance number in all of baseball last year at 3.3. They had the biggest home opening crowd they've ever had. That place looked like a baseball stadium will only look when the fan base is absolutely rabid. But I'm going to let you in on something. Fear the Faithful is their sort of hashtag. That's Fear the Faithful. They're the Padres. Remember, Fear the Faithful. But Game 2, home opener, Game 2 was always known as Tony Gwynn Day, because Tony Gwynn said during his 20-year career, I know what opening day is. And then the real fans come out for Game 2. So it has always been referred to, and it's still, even after his passing, even after he retired in his passing, Game 2 in San Diego is always known as Tony Gwynn Day. That's a tradition that's going to keep going today. My guess is on a Friday night against the Braves, get ready. It's going to be packed again.
It's going to be packed again, and it was a beautiful sight. I mean, there's nothing like San Diego sun-splashed with 72 degrees in a baseball game going on. That was...
Well, I had a college look to it, too, because it was a full-blown whiteout yesterday.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. It's a great place to open up. But Ronaldo, I think... You mentioned velocity. Over 95.5 miles per hour was his average fastball last year. It was down to 93, high 93s in spring. But a lot of times, and he even said it, and Snittis said it, he was working on some things. And, for a veteran like Ronaldo Lopez, or a veteran anywhere, it doesn't really matter what the velo actually is if you're trying to specifically work on something. No one should freak out about what happens. But last year... I don't know about you, but for me, looking back at what happened with Strider in that second start, the first one here, we're sitting around looking at the velo like it's down 2 miles an hour. It's odd. It's odd. Then we found out why. They wouldn't, like you said, they wouldn't put him out there unless they felt like he was ready to go.
Yeah.
So if he struggles, it's not that. It's just that. This is a good team. Watching that Padre team, that is a dang good top to bottom lineup that I think, looking at them, if they get the pitching they need, that's a team that can compete with the Dodgers team that is still relatively beat up right now on the pitching staff.
So he made a play in the center field. Again, it's my PETA guy, my potential pain in the ass guy every series. And Jackson Merrill's it. He made a play. He had 4 RBI.
I think you hit on that one.
I mean, unfortunately, I think he's going to do it the whole weekend. And I think he's that type of player. My only thing, again, turning the page now, whether it's Lopez, whether it's Cease, and all the storylines that are going to come out of this, that's a good enough baseball team where you're going to have to be sharp. If you get runners in scoring position, figure out a way to make it at least a respectable number to drive in runs, and don't fall short. There's a thing at the end of the year, or it probably even happens sooner than that. It does. If you score 4 or more runs, here's what your record is. If you score 3 or fewer, here's what your record is. I don't know what the number's going to be for the Braves. I don't think it's going to be 2023. I don't want it to be 2024. I don't want the lack of runners in scoring position numbers to bite me in the rear end enough where all of a sudden I find myself on 4-game losing streaks. But they're all their own separate entity on top of that. They are their own separate entity. Last night has nothing to do with tonight because everybody in your bullpen's still available.
Everybody is. There's no doubt about that.
This side of Grant Holmes, so I don't think.
Yeah, Grant's not going to pitch today. I was, it was nice to see Jurickson Profar. I mean, it's one game. You can't take a whole lot out of it, but getting a hit, his first at bat as a Brave,
in a spot where he used to play, where he's become sort of a fan favorite even after a short career in San Diego because of what he did with Dodgers fans in the postseason last year. It seems like he's the right fit to fill in for Ronald right now at the top of that order. He's electric. He gets the job done. He's, not afraid to show his flash, show his flair a little bit. I think right now, being at the top of the order, he's a guy who can carry that spot. I think moving forward, you're not going to see him at the top of the lineup when Ronnie comes back, but it's nice to have that spark plug right now.
As we go to break, I will also say that if this team, when Yu Darvish gets back, and maybe Joe Musgrove, who I'm not really sure he's ever going to be anything close to what maybe he was in that 1 year, if that's the third best team in the West, because Arizona truly is second best, that's a really good third best team in the division.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not bad at all. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will dig into the past. Thanks to our local friends at Racetrack. Your commercial break just got shorter. Stop into your local racetrack today. Racetrack, whatever gets you going.
Baseball is on the way, but first a Subaru of Gwinnett break in the action on 680 Game Day.
Hey guys, if you're in your 40s or beyond and feeling less like yourself, C4MH.com has been the leader in real low T care for 15 years. We're not some slick national franchise T clinic that just popped up. C4MH.com is actually owned by a local physician, not some guy from a gym in Kalamazoo. Here's the C4MH deal. No financial contracts, no upfront treatment payments, no supplements, and no surprise fees. Across our 18 West Coast Florida locations, our treatments are with real pharmaceutical testosterone. Those pop-up clinics can't get real pharmaceutical testosterone, and so they use that cheap cut-rate compounded tea. So for safe, affordable, and convenient real low T care, without the high-pressure sales tactics, come to C4MH.com. We're the leaders with the $45 express treatment program that includes lab tests and a medical exam. Get started online at C4MH.com. The leaders in real low T care.
Atlanta Braves baseball is back, and it's only on WCNN North Atlanta.
A Dickey broadcasting station.
The Braves win it and walk it off in the 10th inning.
680 The Fan, 93.7 FM, and streaming Braves baseball across the South. And now on your dashboard with Apple CarPlay with the 680 The Fan app. This is your exclusive home for Atlanta Braves baseball. And this is 680 Game Day, presented by Georgia's Own Credit Union.
Welcome back. Braves and Padres coming up from Petco Park. First pitch scheduled for 9:40 Eastern time. Going to be a late one out here on the East Coast. Starting lineups are out. Let's take a listen. Let's take a look and see who's starting.
Time for tonight's starting lineups, presented by Marco's Pizza. Love pepperoni? Order Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico, topped with classic and crispy cupped Old World pepperoni. It's a home run every time. See store for details.
All right, we'll start with the Padres. Same top three from yesterday. Fernando Tatis leading off, playing right field. Luis Arraez doing what he does best, hitting second and never stopping hitting. That dude's a machine.
Luis Arraez will be the impetus for the pop quiz tonight. I will give you details coming up.
There we go. That is what they call a tease in this business. Arraez batting second, Manny Machado third. Jackson Merrill, your guy, Chris, playing center field, batting fourth. Jake Cronenworth at second base, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts playing short at sixth. Gavin Sheets, the DH, batting seventh. Good friend Jason Hayward getting a start today in left field for the Padres. Martin Maldonado catching, and Dylan Cease making his first start of the season. For the Braves, we mentioned it earlier, Nick Allen at short, but we'll go through the entire thing. Not really that surprising. Profar leading off, playing left. Austin Riley at third base. Olsen batting third, playing first. The DH is Marcelo Zuna. Ozzie Albies batting fifth, playing second base. Michael Harris the second in center. Drake Baldwin, the birthday boy, batting seventh and catching. What a way to get your first hit. You go on your birthday. Maybe go yard on your birthday. Make it a memorable birthday.
His mom, I don't know what would have happened if that ball went out.
Oh, she looked like she was about to lose it. That would have been awesome. Maybe it'll happen on his birthday today. Nick Allen at short, batting eighth, and playing right field, Jared Kelenic.
Let me give you something about Hayward. I was going to save this for Diamond Notes. He is now, because he made an appearance yesterday in that game, he's made an appearance in 16 seasons.
Oh, wow.
16 seasons. And it's not many guys in baseball right now active who can tell you they've made an appearance in 16 seasons. So congratulations to Jason Hayward along those lines as he does get the start tonight.
That seems like yesterday when he came on opening day and hit that home run off Carlos Zambrano.
Stuff changes pretty quickly.
I mean,
whenever somebody tells me, let me tell you how good he's going to be, we never hesitate. We go right to Z, as I like to say. We go right to Hall of Famers. Let's just compare them to Hall of Famers. But the other thing is people just say, that guy's going to be here for 15 years. More than likely not.
Most
I
of the
will
times.
always play the field if you tell me somebody's going to spend 10 years in one uniform to begin their career.
The way Hayward was hyped up here in Atlanta, for those that don't remember, I mean, he was the second coming. He was the next big thing. It came on the heels of Jeff Francoeur become the natural Sports Illustrated cover. You'd think that we would have known better to say, okay, this kid's good, but let's not put the cart before the horse. But he lived up to that hype. Those first 3 years, he was everything that we thought he would be. And to his credit, playing 16 years, and he's had some injuries. He's gone through an awful lot. He's bounced around the league, won a World Series with the Cubs, and it's nice to see him getting the start against with the Padres against the Braves tonight.
I'll tell you the other thing he did. He made some other guys money, man, because a lot of agents were able to point at that $181 million deal and go, my guy's better than that. He's not a Gold Glove outfielder anymore, but he does look like he's going to get time if he hits. He's certainly athletic enough to be a guy who can pinch run. He's still a very good base runner, I'm sure. All those things. But, 16 seasons, that's nothing to sneeze at. The magic number in the Major League Baseball is 10 years. I'll give you, during the Dominoes today, I'll tell you about a guy who just celebrated his 10th big league moment, that milestone of, remember, you can have 9.4 years, you can have 8.2 years.
Right.
But once you hit 10, that's sort of the number that everybody says. You are the elite in terms of not only getting there, but staying there. And then the other thing, fully vested is a big thing. No doubt about it. Teams make a big deal of it. There is a champagne pop when a guy gets his 10th year day of service time in the bigs.
True. We had it, last year with Travis d'Arnaud? Was it 2 years ago with Travis d'Arnaud? It was a huge deal.
Yep.
The Braves celebrated that. And that's for Hayward to play for 16. That's just remarkable. It is 680 game day here on the Fan, 680 93.7 FM.
I'll give you something else about those guys. Remember, you mentioned Jeff Francoeur. Well, Jeff Francoeur was the more hype guy. Jason Hayward was the more hype guy. But then I had Brian McCann and Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
Who were the guys? They were sort of the other guys. Good for them. They were drafted very high, but they're sort of the other guy who ended up being, quite honestly, lead dogs on the Atlanta Braves more than the other two.
Freeman and Hayward roommates right here in the Battery before the Battery existed in a townhouse.
Right. The cover of Sports Illustrated on top of that, too. They really were. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
They were. But you're right. It's Brian McCann. That 95 team, that baby Braves team, with all of those players that came up, that was one of the more remarkable teams we've seen in a long time.
McCann was a second-round pick. People sort of forget that. He was not some slappy who showed up out of nowhere. Brian McCann was a stud in high school, and he played both basketball. He was a good athlete. Mm-hmm. Brian McCann, we sort of think, and as a guy who's got no hair on the top of my head, everybody goes, oh, you look a little bit older when that happens. Yeah, you do. Then you get a little bit heavier. Oh, you look a bit older. Brian McCann was a hell of an athlete. And Brian McCann was a second-round pick. He just did what a lot of people said he was going to do, but he did it at a position where, quite honestly, it'll take the you-know-what out of you.
Yeah.
It's tough being back there for 10-plus years.
Well, we've been digging into the past, so why don't we dig into the past a little bit more?
We're setting the plate for today's game, but we're also digging into the past. Developers and engineers, if you need a cultural resources survey, then contact the best. Wiregrass Archaeological Consultants at diggingintothe.past.com.
Do you know the story of the Cincinnati Reds, the ballot box getting stuffed when it comes to an all-star game in the 50s?
I do not.
All right, look up the idea that the Cincinnati Reds, I think, had 7 guys. I think it was 7 guys voted in. Well, let me tell you what happened. Bars were giving out free beers if you filled out an all-star game ballot at the bars, all in Ohio, all around Cincinnati. So then I said, well, this is kind of silly. But it was on this date in 1970 that Bowie Kuhn actually said, we're going to go back to fan vote. Because there was a long period of time. Lack of interest, lack of fan input, that thing with the Reds in the 50s. It was not a fan vote for a while. People don't realize that. There were 2 all-star games. They raised money for the Players Association with 1. That's why a guy played 22 years, but he had 24 all-star appearances, like C. Stam Musial, Hank Aaron. There were a couple of times a year for a few years there. But it was on this date in 1970 that the commissioner said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put those pieces of paper in the stadium, and then you're going to punch out right next to the guy's name you want to vote for.
Like a Scantron.
Then you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw all those away. Those were never counted. There is no chance in holy hell that those things were counted. But it was, oh, wait, let's give the fans something to do. I did it.
I did it.
Rare times that I went to the ballpark. Oh, I'm going to go up to the top of the aisle. I'm going to put my thing in a box. And at the end of the day, Johnny, the janitorial guy, was going to throw those out in the back and just wait for them to be picked up. I don't believe for a minute any of those things were counted. The only thing about the All-Star game that was really interesting is Steve Garvey was written in. People don't know this. You had a place to write in a guy. His rookie year, he was not on the All-Star game ballot. So they voted him in, and then he won the MVP that year. That's the best sort of, how did that happen? Well, he got written in, and Steve Garvey has that on his ledger as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it was on this date in 1970 where the commissioner said, let's bring it back. I can also give you one more. Do you remember the story of Sid Finch?
On Sports Illustrated?
Yeah. So it was on this date, March 28th, that the April 1st edition of Sports Illustrated came out, and the Sid Finch, George Plimpton story about the guy who played, I think, the oboe and did all those other things.
Threw like 162 miles an hour.
I think he wore one shoe, and he was a stork-like guy. Great story behind it. I spoke to Plimpton twice as a longer interview, and one of those was specifically about Sid Finch. And the other time I spoke to him, do you know the George Plimpton? Do you know his story?
No.
You ever heard sort of the secret life of Walter Mitty?
Yeah.
A guy who does all these things he dreams about doing, but he more wanted to be a hero. George Plimpton played quarterback in an NFL preseason game. He pitched in an all-star game at Yankee Stadium. He did all these things as a writer where he played goalie for the Boston Bruins. George Plimpton's story is phenomenal. And by the way, he's like British educated.
Okay.
Where I told him when we started, there's never been a more disparate IQ amongst two people having a conversation on the phone than me and him. But he really led an incredible life. And if you don't know who Plimpton is, maybe I'll find that interview and run it. But he got to pitch in Yankee Stadium on an all-star game.
Wow.
Yeah, that's sort of
wild.
He had a crazy good career.
That's very
as a writer.
I wish we could do that. Why can't we do that now?
George Plimpton, I think he might have had a patent on it, might have took it to the grave. I don't really know.
A little bit of a liability for us to do something like that, too.
They made a movie. You know who Alan Alda is? Yeah. Alan Alda from MASH?
Yeah.
Alan Alda played George Plimpton in a movie where he was a quarterback for the Detroit Lions in a preseason game. Paper Lion, it was called.
Never seen it.
Yeah. No, you probably wouldn't have. But it was a made-for-TV movie about George Plimpton playing quarterback for the Lions.
That's going to be on the list now.
There you go, if you can find it.
It's good. You know what? Switching gears, you saw me this morning. Mm-hmm. I saw you this morning.
Yeah, you did.
It seems like we've been here all day.
Well, I was out.
And then I left.
I was at a bar and I didn't drink, which really, damn it. But then, came back. So, I was gone all day after seeing you in the morning.
I went and walked around Truist Park. It was, we've all been to the park a ton, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things about this, and they showed us all around the new areas, one thing that always stuck out to me when they built this place was that the kids area was not in the right spot. The kids area got congested. Mm-hmm. People were walking to their seats, and it just was not. Parents couldn't watch their kids on the zip line. Kids couldn't get through to their seats. Adults are just elbowing through people trying to. The Braves announced 3-4 months ago that they were relocating the kids area,
and it was a big reconfiguration with more food items coming in.
Correct. Yeah, the old kids area is more like a food truck type thing. But they gave us a tour around Truist Park today. The kids area, which is out between the stadium and the old and the Delta deck, they just basically reconfigured the gates. This wiffle ball field they have out there.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many 13-year-olds are going to grab a wiffle ball bat and try to hit absolute bombs. It is pristine.
How many 43-year-olds going to try?
I will.
Hey, Glory Days guy, get out of the way. The kids. This is a kids area. It says KIDS. So I'm going to tell you that would, if I had a kid and I watched some old guy going, wait, I want to get my swings.
There will be plenty. There will be plenty of old dudes that walk in 5 beers deep and say they want to play wiffle ball. But the Duke kids area is fantastic. Now, I've never really known why other stadiums have not done this, but above the bullpen at Truist Park, this is the last time we're going to go through this whole tour thing. But they have a new bar where you go through where the kids area used to be. They have this bar called the Pen, right, and it connects the aisle to the bullpen seats. Why it's called the Pen. They've got these wood bar tops of famous Braves closers. Each one has a personalized, almost like a old wooden table, like a hand carved table. And they have autographs and stats, and all of that connects to the old outfield seats above the bullpen, which now have TVs above the bullpen.
So that's like what happens in the fancy pants seats down below. You can actually see replays and other things.
The fancy pants seats are also in the bleachers now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, If you can make another buck, make another buck.
They're going to make a lot of money on that.
Daddy's going to need a DH at the end of this year.
Well,
just telling you.
You might need a DD if you go play wiffle ball after hanging out in the pen for a little while. Few drinks deep and then go over and try to drop bombs against third graders.
Yeah, again, just control yourself, adults. just control yourselves. Don't get overly excited.
I don't know if that PSA is going to work all that.
I want to see some 7-year-old bat flip, just like a monster.
Just throw it to the Delta deck.
Whatever it takes. It is a can you top this world when it comes to bat flips now.
It is. We're going to take a break. There's a pop quiz coming up. Why don't you tease the people?
Pop quiz, hot shot. Domino's Pop Quiz. Presented by All Four Seasons Garage and Entry Doors. Visit allfourseasonsgarages.com.
Let me clear my throat. Luis Arraez, as I said, was one of the reasons, or is the reason I'm doing this tonight. In the National League, I want you to give me the last 10 guys, not named Luis Arraez, to win a batting title in the National League.
The last 10 not named Luis Arraez.
Yeah, I've got a couple of bonus questions in there for you. But in the National League, give me the last 10 not named Luis Arraez. I'll take one other name out, but I won't do it just yet. I'll give you it. Maybe if you get it, maybe you'll get a half a point or something. But in the last 10 guys in the National League to be batting title champs.
Okay, we'll get that after the break. We'll also have your world famous Diamond Notes coming up after the break. Hey, reminder, be a Brave for the day on Diamond Days, presented by Solomon Brothers and the Atlanta Braves. Go to 680thefan.com/Diamond Days to sign up.
Baseball is on the way, but first a Subaru of Gwinnett break in the action on 680.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody walks into the elevator and says,
Happy Friday!
Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
Right now during the Jeep Celebration event, well-qualified current FCA lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x2 for $369 a month for 36 months with $3,999 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Stellantis Financial. Current vehicle must be registered to consumer at least 30 days prior to lease to qualify. Extra charge for miles over 30,000. Not all customers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 3/31. Jeep is a registered trademark.
How's your son? We're worried. It's hard to help someone struggling with drugs and alcohol. I don't know what to do.
Have you heard of Karen? They help people suffering with addiction and mental health conditions. And they're in South Florida.
Thanks. We need help navigating what we're going through.
Karen, transformational care. Take the next step by tapping the banner or visit caron.org. That's caron.org. In-network insurance available.
I'm attorney Mark Yonker of Winters & Yonker. If you've been involved in an accident, don't wait to call a lawyer. The insurance companies are already working on your case. Don't give them a head start. Call the aggressive attorneys, Winters & Yonker, toll free at 888-373-7770. Call us day or night. With us, you pay nothing. Zero, zip, nada. We don't get paid unless you get paid. Don't wait. Call the aggressive attorneys, Winters & Yonker, Principal Office, Tampa.
Game Day, presented by Georgia's Own Credit Union on the home of the Braves, The Fan.
Welcome back. It is 680 Game Day. We're leading you up to Braves and Padres at 9:40 Eastern Time. Pop quiz is on the way. Chris, remind the listeners what that quiz is. What's that question?
Yeah, my question to you, Luis Arraez won 2 in a row. He won 1 in the American League, but the last 10 National League batting title players other than Luis Arraez are whom?
All right, it's time for Domino's Diamond Notes, presented by Solomon Brothers. Be a Brave for a day on Diamond Day, presented by Solomon Brothers and the Atlanta Braves. Visit 680thefan.com/Diamond Days to register.
If I'm just going to ask you, take a guess. How many colleges do you think were represented on opening day? In other words, they had at least one player. How many universities, colleges, institutions, whatevers?
206.
204 different colleges represented on opening day. That is correct.
Wow.
Chris Bryant, by the way, was the guy who notched his 10 years of service time on opening day, so congratulations to him, the former Chicago Cub. Heck of a player until he really wasn't, but he's got 10 years in now. Spencer Torkelson.
Okay.
4 walks. That's, of course, tied for the most on opening day, 15 times since 1901. But you know what he did? He's the only guy to ever do this, 4 walks and a home run. Only guy in baseball history on opening day to have 4 walks and a home run. Nobody else has ever done that. It's a great story. I'll do it tomorrow. Tarek Skubal gave Jake Rogers, his catcher, a Rolex. I'll tell you what that's about tomorrow. I want to congratulate Christian Yelich, who wore a Bob Uecker plaid jacket into the building yesterday to honor Bob Uecker. First time in, listen to this one, first time in 75 years, Vince Scully or Bob Uecker's not calling a baseball game. First time in 75
That
years.
seems insane.
Yep. And Hadley Rutschman, boy, does he? Hadley Rutschman really likes opening day. 3 for 5, 2 home runs, 3 RBI. 2 for 4, 2 RBI. 5 for 5, a home run, and 4 RBI. That's his last 3 opening days. Nobody's got more hits in 3 consecutive opening days. Nobody in the history of the game has more opening day hits 3 opening days in a row than Adley Rutschman does with his 13 hits. We'll leave it at that. We got a lot more to go, but we do have to get to the pop quiz answers. We will find out how you do. We will find out how the listeners, the people do as well. Luis Arraez is out. He won the last 2. He won 1 in the American League, 3 in a row. Can you give me any of the others in the last 10 seasons to win a batting title in the National League?
Christian Yelich.
He did. As a matter of fact, he won it twice.
I knew he won it once.
He won it in 18 and 19. If you forget how good he was, he did do that. That was after he went to the Milwaukee Brewers, both of those.
Nolan Arenado.
He did not win a batting title.
No. DJ LeMahieu.
DJ LeMahieu is one of 2 guys.
No.
Yeah, that's correct. Go with LeMahieu. Let's just do that. And the only reason I'm going to do this is he won 1 in the American League and 1 in the National League. He, along with Luis Arraez, is the only guy to do that. And he won 1 look in the COVID year of 2020 with the Yankees, but he did. All right, give me another one.
Trey Turner.
Trey Turner did win a batting title.
Has Manny Machado? Manny Machado had one, has he?
No.
Manny Machado. Jeff McNeil.
Jeff McNeil
won 1.
Yes, he did. Do you know Freddie Freeman finished second twice?
I was going to say Freddie Freeman, but
he did not.
Yeah, he did not win 1.
No, he was 10 points behind one guy. He was 1 point behind Jeff McNeil in 2022.
Juan Soto hasn't won 1.
He has won.
Wow. Dang.
Juan Soto.
So that doesn't count as a correct answer.
No, you said it right. I mean, you said Juan Soto. Listen, it's early in our relationship. I'll grade tougher as the year goes along.
DJ Gordon won. Was that within the last 10 years?
No.
I know he won 1, didn't he?
No, but do you want a bonus question?
Sure.
In the American League, over a 7-year stretch, 2011, 2017. That's 7 seasons.
Okay.
There were only 2 guys in the American League who won the batting title over a 7-year stretch.
Really?
Yeah. 2011, 2017. Bonus question. Only 2 guys. One guy won 4, one guy won 3.
One of them was Miguel Cabrera.
He won 4, and Jose Altuve won 3. That's a 7-year stretch with only 2 guys.
I would not have gotten Altuve.
Yeah, and he did it 3 times. All right, give me another National League guy.
Was Michael Kadire? I know Michael Kadire won 1, but he didn't fit in that time frame, did he? Did he?
He did.
Ooh. Dang. Okay. I'm better at this than I thought I'd be.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right. I can tell you that Jose Reyes won 1.
Oh.
Buster Posey, and here's the other reason I did this question today.
Buster Posey, that's who I was thinking of. I couldn't pull the name.
He won it in 2012 with a 336 average. I want to tell you something about Buster Posey. Georgia kid.
Yeah, South Georgia kid.
Yeah, running the Giants now. You know what today is? He's 38 years old today. Do you know how many guys in Major League, and now he was done in 2021. He was done at 35. Mm-hmm. He's 38 years old. You know how many guys were on opening day rosters that are older than Buster Posey?
How many?
Who's been done for 3 years? A lot. A lot. There's a lot of guys who are older than his 38 years old today. I think I found at least 17 guys active that are older than the guy who's been out for 3 years and will walk into the Hall of Fame in a couple of years.
Well, we'll make that our Well-Star stat of the day. How about that?
Charlie Blackmon, by the way, Carlos Gonzalez, and Justin Morneau.
Justin Morneau. Well-Star patients are the center of everything we do. We're nationally ranked and locally recognized for our high-quality care, inclusive culture, and exceptional doctors and caregivers. Visit wellstar.org to learn more. Wellstar, more than healthcare, people care.
All right, as we finish up very quickly, the highest batting average since 2010 in either league, Josh Hamilton in 2010 hit 359.
Really?
Yeah, he's a little bit forgotten.
That's a deep pull.
He's a little bit forgotten at this point.
He was good for like
a number of reasons.
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. And then things went a little sideways.
Let's just say problems.
Yeah. he had a little bit of problems. Braves and Padres coming up. You'll get the Ford leadoff show coming here right now on 680 The Fan, 93.7 FM, and of course that Fan app.
This is 680 Game Day.
Marco's Pizza was named America's favorite pizza chain by Technomics America's Favorite Chains data. And America said, who? So we're introducing America to America's favorite pizza chain with unlimited large 2-topping pizzas for just $8.99 each. And when people tried Marco's Pizza, they said, this is amazing. Get unlimited large 2-topping pizza. Restrictions, see Marcos.com. Limited time only.
Attention Braves fans! We have a major announcement. Tire Discounters is the new tire retail partner of the Braves. Here's their snazzy jingles. We're giving all the...
Since 1981, Gulf Coast Air Systems has delivered comfort without compromise. The AC company of choice for thousands of customers in Tampa and the surrounding areas. We're here to help you with all your